All right, the dog days of summer. Wow, that sounds like there's an issue with that mic. Any what's going on there? Sounds pretty distorted. All right, this is a bad start to a Monday, isn't it? Yeah, there's a volume control underneath there. Anyway, we're going to try and figure out what's going on with the microphone here. It's pretty distorted for sure. And can you hear that now, Beck?
I'm good now.
Okay. All right. So anyway, look, I guess I'll just talk and let our crack technical team try and figure this out. Not sure what's happening, but lots of distortion. It's the heavy metal version of the Todd Veinotte show. What do you think of that, councillors? What do you think of that, Tony Mancini? Pretty distorted, eh?
I think every Monday should start with heavy metal.
All right. And Becky Kent, what do you think of that?
Well, it's just a new sound for you, Todd. There, we got some clarity, a little bit more clarity there.
You sound good.
Yeah, thank you.
Tony, try it again.
How about this? Does I sound taller?
Yeah, you sound great.
Never.
So it's going to be. Anyway, we're not sure what's going on. We'll figure it out. The show must go on, as they say, right? That's
right
the deal.
on.
Tony Mancini, of course, represents District 5, Dartmouth East, Burnside. And as kind of tradition, brings me an album every time he comes in, and this is a nice gift. Thanks so much, Tony.
Oh, you're welcome. It's the Doobie Brothers. I love the Doobie Brothers. Saw them in Halifax last year. The guys are much older than you and I, but put on a great show.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we'll try this mic here. This sounds a lot better.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, we're not sure what's going on with that one anyway. Which number is this, Vanessa? Number 2? Okay. Number 2, no. There we go, number 2. Okay, and the guest mic is just trying to get this figured out now. Tony, try your mic.
One more time. How about that?
Okay, and Becky, try yours.
Yeah. Oh,
okay, all right, we got it now.
But...
All right, so now I got to figure it out. I'm number 2. I'm mic number 2. Tony's number 1, and Becky's number 3.
It's all I've been asking for to be
Oh,
called
that's
number
just
one.
what we needed this morning, Todd.
Well, not off to a raging good start, but off to a good start. Anyway, Tony, thanks for the album, my friend. Doobie Brothers, tell me more about this album.
The Doobie Brothers. I grew up in the 70s, the 80s, and the Doobie Brothers. We sat around the basement listening to their music. That's kind of a southern rock type of thing.
Yeah.
I love it. So I think you'll enjoy it. I know I'm getting to learn your taste of music. I think it's similar, so you'll enjoy
absolutely, 100%. Love it. And not bringing me anything at all was Becky Kent.
My smile.
Smile, a beautiful smile.
That's all right.
I didn't know it was a requirement.
It's not a requirement. It's not obligatory, but it helps.
That's okay.
All right. So, like you guys know the drill. Give us a call if you'd like to chat with one or both the councillors. 902-405-6000. That is the way to reach us again. 902-405-6000 if you'd like to chat with one or both of the councillors. Tony Mancini and Becky Kent. Tony, anything you want to pass along to constituents before we dive into this thing?
Yes, there's a few things. Tonight we're having a community meeting at 6 o'clock at the Fairbank Center in Shuby Park. This is a relationship to the shooting that took place in Charlottetown Way a couple of weeks ago. Anytime there's a shooting, it's pretty traumatic for communities. This was a residential community, and so a lot of concerns over that. So Halifax Regional Police and our bylaw folks and some other folks are going to be there tonight, and it looks like we're going to have a good turnout just to talk about safety in general and safety of the community. Anytime we have a shooting, that's pretty tough. So that's on the very sad and serious note. Rock the Harbor is coming up August 15th to 17th in downtown Dartmouth. And here's the lineup, and you'll like this. You'll have to show up one of these years.
Okay, for sure, yeah.
Friday night is Honeymoon Suite and Titan. Saturday night is Big Sugar, Sass Jordan, Men Without Hats, Michel Ryder, and Sunday night, one of my all-time favorites, Trooper, Street Heart, and the Northern Pikes.
Well, the Northern Pikes, good band there.
Good band. So that's a great lineup. It's a great show.
Lots of great Canadian. Is that all Canadian stuff?
It's usually not always, but most of it is usually Canadian content. And so we had a great turnout last year and the year before. So hopefully you can make it. And then I just got to talk about Jays versus your Yankees.
I know, my gosh. the
Number
Yankees,
one
yeah.
in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I know.
The Jays lost last night, but I think they're 8-2 coming out of the All-Star.
Yeah.
And
5.5 game lead over the Yankees.
The Yankees booting the ball.
The Yankees suck.
But they hit the home runs.
Yeah, the Yankees suck.
But home run galore.
Listen. I've always said that teams that rely on the long ball are not world championship teams. You can't win that way. You just can't. It just and I think the Blue Jays have a good mix of guys that can get on and move runners along with some pop. You know, they got Vladdy who can hit it out, and Springer and Bichette can. So they're not without power. So I think the Jays and that pitching staff is good too.
Well, and you look at it, it's 1 through 9, right? Everybody's contributing. Every time a new guy comes up from Buffalo, they contribute too. And so, at first it was like, it's just a little streak they're going on, but they keep doing it. So even last night they got it handed to them, but late in the 9 they put in 4 runs, and so so it's a lot of fun for Jays fans anyway.
Absolutely. Okay, Becky, anything
Thank you.
you'd like to pass along?
Well, just if I could interrupt that love fest, I think that
Love fest. No, that was not a love fest. That was a toleration. I was tolerating Tony right there.
I just want to note to everyone that there's lots of construction work and road work happening all over the municipality, and certainly District 3 has its share. So just be cautious and plan for a little bit of extra time that you might need. The big thing that I want to speak to is the 50th anniversary of the Eastern Passage Cowboy Summer Carnival. That's 50 years of contributing to the community in such an iconic way. You know, we have parades and fireworks and sandcastle building and, all kinds of little activities throughout the week. So it's a special year, the 50th anniversary. I want to shout out to the community organizations that are partners, but in particular the volunteers who do the grunt work to make sure these things happen year after year, and 50 years is a long time.
Fair enough. 902-405-6000. That is the way to reach us to chat with our councillors. Again, 902-405-6000. All right, let's talk about strong mayor powers. I mean, we need to get to this. A story of the mayor who's going to join us on the 7th, by the way, of August. He'll be in here from 10 to 11, taking your call. So I'm looking forward to getting his take directly from all of this. But on another station last week, made some controversial comments about strong mayor powers. I guess basically saying that they're needed, questioning how much authority staff has, and kind of calling into question that chain of authority. And some call it misinformation, some call it the harmful. Tony Mancini, what's your takeaway on what the mayor has said regarding strong mayor powers and who reports to who when it comes to the CAO and all that stuff?
Yeah, so the mayor was on, as you alluded to, another radio show, and he made the comment that he reports to the CAO, which is not the case at all. The mayor and council, we have really only one employee that we're directly responsible. Obviously, indirectly responsible to 4,000 plus employees, but it's the CAO that we hire, and the CAO reports to the mayor and to council. So I don't know why he phrased it in that way, but it's crystal clear that's the model. The council is like a board of directors, and the mayor is the chair of the board. Mm-hmm. And so the CAO reports to us. It's quite simple. So the whole mayor powers issue, I understand Mayor Fillmore is frustrated. He had 2 or 3 motions he tried to bring through, and they failed, and he's frustrated, and that he's going down the path of wanting to be able to have more authority than what that position's had in the past. Mm-hmm. I think we've worked very well in the past. We need Mayor Fillmore to be a strong mayor. We need leadership. We don't need to give him more authority. We need leadership out of him. I think he has the ability to do that. But it's a little frustrating at the time. He needs 9 votes anytime he brings a motion forward. We all need 9 votes. Yeah.
So do you feel as though he's lacked the leadership to this point?
I think he's trying to figure it out, right?
Yeah. So the answer is yes, he's lacked leadership.
Yeah, but he has the potential to get that leadership.
Well, everybody has the potential.
Right, absolutely. So he should. And I work well with him, and I get along with him, and my role as deputy mayor with him. We don't need to be criticizing each other in public, in my opinion, or in council. We just need to figure it out and work together. I think we all have the greatest intentions for our municipality, including the mayor, including all my colleagues, councillors. But the issue is with the province too. The province stepping in on some of our stuff. Does the premier have the legal authority to do so? Absolutely. But should he do it is another question. I'd rather see the mayor, the premier pick up the phone and say, I've got an issue. For example, Moore Street. Here are my issues. So how do we resolve it rather than sending out letters and getting it done and having conversations in the media. So it's a frustrating time at council, and there's still lots of opportunity to do good work. The city's continuing to grow. Look at I think we're at our tourism numbers at a peak now, taking advantage of what's happening in the States. More and more tourists, more and more businesses continue to move here. There's a lot of good stuff going on in our municipality. So there's huge opportunity to continue on that path of good stuff.
Would you say that in your time at council, this is the most challenging time that you've had, Tony?
Yeah, it's pretty challenging. We've had other challenging issues that have occurred and some disasters and crises that occurred, but this is challenging as a council. We're spending a lot of time on it. And again, I go back to the fact we have a lot of first-term councillors, and they're trying to figure out things. We have a good core group, I believe. But it is challenging. I like the word I keep using. It's heavy right now at council.
Okay, Becky, what's your takeaway on all this?
Well,
you just wrote a bunch of notes.
Yeah, I sure did.
Copious notes right there.
As Tony knows, I've had things to say about this. So, frankly, the strong mayor powers. If you're a strong mayor, as Tony alluded to, a strong mayor doesn't need strong mayor powers. A strong mayor will lead us. And the big thing for me is that it's really diluting and changing the face of what democracy is. The municipality is represented by 16 councillors and a mayor, and it should be a team approach to everything. I am concerned about the leadership that he's shown so far. It's been more assertive and blindsiding than it has been collaborative and engaging. And so and I've said this before about Mayor Fillmore, is that he has all the skill sets and a personality to be a great and strong mayor. He has not engaged with us. He has not had these conversations around strong mayor powers, even though he knows they're on the table. Tony and I and Councillor Austin met with him, and he had little to say. Things have come forward in council, and we're hearing the same rhetoric over and over, that he's there for the residents and suggesting that the councillors, he's doing this for the not for the people in council, but for the people outside, residents, as if we were not. So that's concerning, and that's divisive. And and there's, as Tony has mentioned and you've mentioned, there's misleading information coming out of that, out of his conversations that he's having, especially the public ones around the powers of the CAO. We are in a situation now where there's a lot of speculation out there about what's happening, about what's right and what's not, and that's I think that's being led by the mayor. And so, I feel like we have to ask our residents to really talk about and look into the Act and the Charter like we do, like we know, and that that this current mayor is not, he's not leading us. He's not leading us in a way that I know he can do.
How do you know he can do if he's not done it?
Well, I think exactly. I think that he can, as Tony said, it's early days. Yeah. I think that he can come into it.
You hope he can, but you don't know that he can.
Well, no, you're right. I guess that's a really, really good point. Yeah. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think he has skill sets, but if he doesn't lean into the council's members, certainly that have been there for a while, those of us who have been in politics for a while, and the new members. The new members are bringing a new perspective, but we're not getting that opportunity. So, as Tony said, there's some really, really good things happening. This is a tough time. This is a very, very divisive time right now, and it's concerning. It's disappointing in a huge way around the leadership, or the lack of leadership that we're having. But, we'll get through this, and we will have some of those discussions, whether the mayor wants to or not. They're going to be had, and we'll see where we land. But I'm not a fan of diluting and minimizing the democratic approach.
Well, I would say that's quite a strong condemnation of the mayor, quite honestly.
I know.
And just my observation.
I've not received one single call from him to have a conversation around any of this. And maybe some of the others are, and maybe he's concerned about my approach to it. I'm just being honest. That's what I've always been in my political roles. I'm going to say what's on my mind, and that's on my mind right now.
Okay. What about public support for this? Do you think that he has it or not?
I think that people are, in general, don't pay as much attention to as some would suggest.
People who listen to this show do.
And that's okay. People who listen to this show certainly do. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I'm getting a lot of emails and copied on, and Tony would be getting the same ones that are very supportive. I think I've got one out of probably 30 emails that was supporting the mayor on the strong mayor powers, and the information that came from that seemed like it was a confused approach. It was just all over the place with what they thought was the reality of our state. So, I'm still very confident that we have the structure that we need to continue to do the good work that we can without strong mayor powers.
Okay. Tony, what's your response to what you just heard?
Yeah, I think there is support for the mayor getting strong mayor powers. There's also support for him not getting it. I know many of your listeners and the folks that call in on your show, and I listen to your show all the time, there's strong support. But understand where this started from is the conversation around bike lanes is one of them.
That's at the heart of this,
That's
right?
at the heart of it, right? And so when the mayor stated, look at this congestion, all of us are seeing congestion like we've never seen before in our municipality, and we're all frustrated with it because it's not something that we're used to. It's not what we've been growing up with. But all of a sudden you see this congestion, we're frustrated, and then the mayor says it's caused by bike lanes. Well, then all of a sudden then we have discussions and votes on bike lanes. No wonder they're getting the support. My word of caution to those that want the mayor to have more strong mayor powers. So you agree with the mayor today. Well, in another 3.5 years' time, you may have a different mayor that's totally different, and their values and their approach. All of a sudden, that person's going to get strong mayor powers.
Yeah.
So that's the word of caution.
Yeah. Okay. 902-405-6000. We got lots of people on hold. Stick right there, folks. If you'd like to chat with the councillors, again, 902-405-6000. We'll be right back. All right, continuing with our councillors, Tony Mancini, Becky Kent here in studio, taking your calls, 902-405-6000. Gloria, you're the first to call today, so Gloria, you get the first run at it.
Thanks, Todd.
No problem.
Good morning, Councillor. I had a lovely tea in Calbay the other day.
Oh,
served
good.
by beautiful
Isn't
ladies.
That nice,
it was lovely.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you were able to get there.
Yeah, I didn't see you there, Becky.
No, I wasn't able to get there. I tried to take a few days off, and I was in my hometown of Shelburne.
It was great, but I just want to begin by saying when the mayor said about the about the CAO, his office is responsible to the CAO, is it not?
His office is? Yes. Some of his staff are. He has the ability to have some political staff. Yeah. But some of his staff are you know what?
So it might have been a slip of the tongue. Tony, I'm going to correct you now. I heard
Gloria,
you say
that's
you
not
have
the first
one
time you've ever corrected
employee.
me, have it?
Hey, it's Tony. You have one employee. Do you not have two?
We have two. The AG.
Yeah.
Outer
So
General. And by the way,
that
Todd,
aren't
the Auditor General, that whole concept came from Gloria.
Yeah.
She brought the Auditor General.
Oh, is that right?
to
Yeah,
council.
that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But sometimes, Tony, we say something before we stop to think. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my family would tell me that on a daily basis.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, my questions this morning are on Moore Street. I just want to know, have you seen a plan for the proposed changes to Moore Street? And if so, who did the plan and were consultants involved? And thirdly, what, if any, money has been spent on Moore Street for this proposed development to date?
I'll take that as yes. We've seen parts of the plan the plan, and that's what we voted on in the last council meeting. It was certainly provided in by the typical way, which is staff, and staff would, if they had engaged with consultants, so be it. That's part of the routine that we have. I forget the last question. What was it?
How much money has been spent to date on the Moore Street proposed changes?
To my understanding, it would be on the work that has been done around developing the actual design.
Do you know how much?
I don't know. No.
You're not interested enough to know, Becky?
Well, that's not
You
fair,
know, it's
Gloria. You know,
taxpayers'
Gloria,
money.
that's not fair whatsoever.
Yeah,
You know,
hey,
Gloria.
Tony,
No,
let me
Gloria,
speak.
Gloria, that's not
I'm
fair.
a taxpayer.
No,
Let
I
me
know you're a
speak,
taxpayer.
Tony.
So am I, and so is Todd.
Yeah, I know,
We're all
but you're
taxpayers,
being
but that's
very
not fair.
rude.
You're,
Let me finish.
Oh, you're going to tell me to shake my head in a second, Gloria, aren't you?
I know you
Maybe
don't
I
like
can
what I
answer.
have to
Maybe I
say.
can answer this and just put this to rest. Yes, I care. I care, but I also care about all the other thousands of things that are going on within our municipality. I don't necessarily need to have that information at my fingertips every day, and it gets cluttered, in particular with this kind of rhetoric out there in the public that we're not don't care enough, or don't have that kind of information, or it's just bad information being shared in the public. And I think that's noise that not only we as councillors have to try to find our way through, we have to then also carry all of the other projects and things going on
I
in
know
our
I was
district.
there, Becky.
So,
23 and a half
yes,
years.
you do, and that's
You're
why
not telling me, You're not telling me. We served on council together. You're not telling me that. I know all that. But I just wondered how
so
much
the point
money it
here is,
cost.
Gloria, that yes, I do care. Of course I care.
Good. The other question I have is, who is prepared to move the motion of rescission on the 5th of August?
Gloria, I think that's going to come from the mayor. We've got agenda review today, actually. I'll know for sure. But I think it's going to be the mayor. And I believe there will be alternative options on the design based on the motion of rescission.
But you think the mayor will put it forward? Are you prepared to support it?
Yeah, depending on what the additional designs are. So we're going to find out more about that today at agenda review. So I'm hoping that there will be different designs that still allows the biking network to go through there, depending on cost, of course.
But it wouldn't be a one-way street.
I don't know what the other designs are, but I assume at this point in time the alternatives will not be a one-way street.
No, because the premier's ready to step in if it is.
Yep.
And as for the strong mayor powers, I think the premier doesn't want to do this, but I think he's being forced to do it. And but I want to just remind you of one thing, councillors. A lot of people talk to me. I'm out every day, and if you do a poll, and not a 200-person poll in a municipality of over 500,000, but a decent-sized poll, you will find that you lose. That the people do not like the way council is operating, and we need to do something to change it. I'll let you go, and thank you very much, and thank you, Todd.
Okay, thanks for your call. All right, I'll give you a chance to respond. Becky, obviously you want to respond to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can't say that she doesn't have all of that kinds of I guess, contact in the community. But those of us who are still in the trenches, that are still sitting in those seats, we have a lot of opportunities to engage with our community. Moore Street is for sure on people's mind because it's become such a public issue. As Tony has mentioned, that report's coming. And I, like him, am not prepared to say whether or not I'm supporting it because we don't have the detail yet. When we see that detail and when we hear the debate, we hear our colleagues speaking and staff's responses, that's when we make our decisions about what we're going to support. And I'm not prepared as well to say that what way I'm going. But I do want to go with finding a solution that's palatable for everyone.
Tony, you're visibly frustrated right now, I will say.
I am. To have anyone say that we don't care and because we may not have the numbers at our fingertips is frustrating. We truly care. Anybody getting involved in politics, I think many get involved because they want to help their community. If you're getting involved, you're in politics because you want a job and you want to get paid well. it's the wrong gig for you.
Wrong one.
It's a wrong gig, right? So we really care. Our heart and soul goes into our municipality. We don't always get agreement. All that I ask is as we debate, is be respectful. I mean, that means from my colleagues, that means from our residents, that, I'm frustrated because, man, I just love raising my family here. I'm proud of our municipality. And it's hard to hear when people, with Gloria has a lot of respect in the community, from Dartmouth for sure, but to say that we don't care, that's a tough pill as well.
Okay, fair enough. 902-405-6000, that's the way to reach us. Give us a call. Again, 902-405-6000. We'll continue with our councillors when we come back. All right, it is Monday. We have our councillors in studio, Tony Mancini, Becky Kent, and taking your calls. The way to reach us is 902-405-6000. Again, 902-405-6000. Let's go back to the phones. Hello, Joe.
Good morning.
Hi there. Go ahead.
Todd, I don't normally call the show. I haven't called the show for quite some time, but this issue is of particular concern to me. And it was really nice to hear Gloria's voice in the background. I think Gloria stands for a paradigm of leadership that we can all understand and that resonates with us. Whether Mr. Fillmore is going to, what kind of mayor he's going to be, the jury's still out on that. But this whole situation of the mayor, the premier getting involved, I cheer that. And when the councillors, of course, they're going to defend themselves. Everything they're saying is expected. That's what people do when they're in a position that's being attacked. And I agree with Gloria. There's a lot of people that are disgusted with municipal politics in HRM, and I'm one of them. And I lost interest right around the time our last mayor stepped into the role. In my opinion, he was a do-nothing mayor and spent most of his time telling us what he wasn't responsible for and what he couldn't do. And as a taxpayer, as a voter and a resident, I'm judging our city council or our municipal council and the mayor by what I see happening. And it appears to me that the water in the bowl is swirling downward in this area. There seems to be a lack of competence. And I don't think anyone would question whether the people that are in power now and have been elected care. My question is, are they competent? Do they work together homogeneously? And I say no, they haven't been. And I really welcome a strong leader, a new sheriff in town that's going to take control and set things right as much as possible. It appears that there's all kinds of problems, and I'm not going to go down a menu of all the problems I see in the city, but they're not being dealt with immediately. They're not being dealt with effectively. As a matter of fact, a lot of them aren't even being dealt with. They're being acknowledged, and that's it. That's not leadership.
Okay, Joe, I want to give the councillors time to respond to that because you said a lot there. Tony, please respond.
So I'd like to respond to Joe's comment with the last mayor in doing nothing. So let's talk about when the last Mayor Savage first took office. This municipality was referred to as an aging municipality. Our young people were graduating from our great universities and college and were leaving because there was no jobs here. Downtown Barrington was boarded up. All those buildings down there were boarded up. Downtown Dartmouth had biker gang clubs and strip joints going on. We had very little diversity going on in our city. Under Mayor Savage's leadership and other councils, we've taken that time to where we are now, where we have one of the fastest growing downtowns in the country, one of the fastest growing municipalities in the country, diversity like we've never seen before. Our young people have returned and want to stay. We're protecting lands like Blue Mountain Birch Cove and the backlands of Purcell's Cove, and the list goes on and on. Now, are there challenges? Without question, there are challenges with growth, but I'd rather have challenges of growth than the opposite. So that was all under Mayor Savage's leadership. We didn't have what you're seeing now, and I agree. People are losing confidence. That's my concern. At the break, we were talking here, and I said our brand is being negatively impacted because of all this fighting between us, councils, and the councillors, and the mayor, and the premier. I agree. But to say the last mayor didn't do anything, he did a lot, and we should be proud of the work that's done. huge opportunity to do a lot better right now, and we have to gain confidence back to our citizens. I agree. Thanks, Todd.
Hey, Becky,
Yeah.
what's your response?
Yeah, I think there are some people out there that are losing confidence, but I think that there are also people who have had a negative context to their approach around municipal leaders before even Mayor Savage came in. So that lack of confidence, I have concerns about, but I feel a little differently about perhaps what my colleague is saying around concerns around the brand. People are still telling me how pleased they are to have moved here, and I think, and they're still considering coming here. And I have emails from people who aren't here yet and saying we're on our way. We're so glad that your community is served and still happy. This is a tough time. This is a tough time, but we've had tough times before. You think about the mass casualty that we had in Portapique and all of the things that went on with that with Nova Scotia and the importance of learning from that kind of challenge. Then we have concerns around policing models and how to shift that. We've been responsive on all of that. And we are shifting and changing, and that's all very positive around and can the homelessness file. I don't have to go on because Tony had said a lot of it, but people are still choosing Halifax, and that we can be very, very proud of. Regarding the Premier's involvement, I think that again, people need to have a sense of what it is that we have in place. We have the Halifax Charter that gave our municipality certain roles to play and legislated very specific, and we have to work within those. If we don't, we go back to the province, or if we want to change it, we have to go back to the province. That's the difference. We have not had engagement with our Premier around any of this.
I think
we haven't.
You remember me.
We haven't. Now let me finish, please. We haven't had that. We haven't had that engagement. And to say that we're broken in some way, for instance, for council, all of our councillors right now have a really great working relationship. Do we always agree? No, but we are talking to each other. That's the way to get decisions made in council and your projects forwarded and your community support that is needed. We work together to come to at least a place of understanding, so when we're in a debate in council, we can have a good debate and a good decision. And I believe strongly that we still are. And this thing about we have so many things that are not being responsive. I just want to know, what are those things that are not being responded for? Morris Street, we definitely are. If it's about bike lanes,
I have a list of things that I told you right from the get-go, because I don't want to hog all the time on here. But a lot of what you say is your perspective, yours. And
as is yours, sir.
I expect. You said you're in the trenches, honey. Well, I've been in the trenches longer than you.
Okay, you know what? You don't have to be that.
Calling her honey.
Yeah, it is. And
step down, Joe.
All right, we're going to move on. 902-405-6000. That's the way to reach us. Absolutely inappropriate comment. 902-405-6000. Barb, hello.
Hi, good morning, councillors and
good morning.
Deputy Mancini.
Morning.
As everybody knows, that Halifax is one of the fastest growing cities in Canada. And everybody knows that there's kind of a affordable housing crisis. I'm wondering what steps has HRM taken in the last 5 years to create multi-generational living?
Okay, which councillor wants to take that?
Barb, could you elaborate when you say multi-generational living? Could you give me a definition of what you're speaking of?
Well, multi-generational living is referring to a household that has perhaps grandparents, their children, and then the grandchildren. That's multi-generational housing. It's all over Canada. I'm asking what Halifax has done in the last 5 years.
So I'll start off, and maybe Becky can jump in, Barb. Thanks for your call. So when we step back and look at housing from 30,000 feet, so we've grown, you're right, one of the fastest growing municipalities in the country when the pandemic, and that was done by design that we were going to grow. But all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and we grew faster than we expected. So we have people traveling or moving from all across the country and North America.
Mr. Mancini, I'm aware of all that. I'm asking you to tell me what HRM has been doing in the last 5 years to accommodate and create multi-generational living.
Well, let me step in. I'll just say that we have changed the bylaw to allow for in-law suites in all parcels and properties in the municipality. We've changed the planning and designations for many of the properties in the area around residential 1, that they can now add additional units inside or outside their homes. So as far as what happens within that construct, it's not our job to decide if they're going to and to plan for a multi-generational pace that is as large, I think, as what you're talking. We can we can allow and designate lands and properties to be open to different styles of development than they've ever been before, to allow for more people living on a property exclusively. So that parcel, whether or not that's going to be a family with grandparents and then children and then their grandchildren, that's a decision that only those families can make. It's not been something that people have brought up forward to me. I think it's just, we've had interest in in-law suites. They used to call them granny suites. Mm-hmm. That's changed. We heard it loud and clear, and we changed it, and we've even made more steps towards that.
Well, okay, if that's all, yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks for the call. 902-405-6000. Matt, hello.
Hi, how's it going today?
Well, you?
Not bad. I'm in a bad spot. I'm on a construction site, so sorry if there's noise or anything. You can hang up on me.
No problem.
So my big question is parking. You're trying to blow up this city. I understand. But the frustrating thing for every single construction worker right now is trying to find parking. Yeah. I'm not even downtown Halifax. I'm over just down Dodgeton Street on Russell. We're building the new school down here, and we're getting absolutely shafted on parking tickets. It's like we're being targeted because they know we have to be here, and then every day they show up at different times, and I have to go out 2 or 3 times a day to move my car to ensure I don't get 50 tickets in the year that I'm going to be here. So you guys are absolutely, maybe not you guys, but the parking people are targeting us, construction workers, and you're trying to blow up this city, but yet we have to take literally a half hour out of our day pretty well to go move our vehicle and try to find new parking every couple of minutes. Now, I'll leave you guys with that one, but one other point, and then I'll hang up. I am a pedestrian. I ride my bike every single chance I get, and I do not personally believe that bikes should be on the road because we are not motorized vehicles. We do not have any protection, and have my kids often attached to my bike, and I ride on the sidewalk. I have never had a cop pull me over or say,
sorry, man.
I realize pedestrians should be on sidewalks.
Okay, we lost him. I'm not sure. I get the concern about the parking, right, Becky? I mean, anything you can do to? Well,
it is concerning to me, and one of my kids is in the laborers union. And he is affected as well, so I hear about it through him. I certainly can appreciate it, and something that maybe we should be looking at is some form of a pass or a something that allows people to park in those situations that companies can maybe access for them. That I think is the way. I am concerned as well around the parking in the downtown on the peninsula. Others have said the same thing. We spoke a few minutes ago, just off the air, around the Halifax Wanderers fields and things, and I think that parking is not just a concern with the residents that live in the downtown core and on the peninsula. It's parking for all the folks around the rest of the municipality who want to come and visit this area, who might want to go to a Wanderers game, who might want to do some shopping in the downtown or in the city center in Dartmouth. And if parking is a problem, then we have a problem, right?
Yeah. Tony, anything to add to this?
Just very quickly, Matt, I missed on, he was talking about bike riding, so I didn't know if he had a question there. But on the parking, some sites have set up where they will transport their employees from one location to another. They park the car in a more neutral area, and then they have a van that drives them back and forth. I think when we have these developments, understand the challenges that Matt's feeling, that neighborhood that construction's taking place is impacting the residents of that neighborhood also. Yeah. So there has to be that balance.
Yeah. Okay. 902-405-6000. We'll be back with our councillors.
Thanks.
All right, continuing with our councillors. Man, time's flying by here. We have Tony Mancini and Becky Kent here in studio. 902-405-6000 is the way to reach us. Before we go back to the phones, Becky, you had something that's kind of you've been thinking about and brooding about, and you wanted to comment about it.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. One of the callers that called in was frustrated with my responses, and he was asserting that, I needed to get his voice in while I was talking. I asked for him not to, and his response came back with, "Listen, honey." So saying that, I can't imagine that he might say that to a man. I am a grown woman of 62. Mm-hmm. I am a professional who works in what was a very male-centric space, but now we are female and have majority of the council. We work in a space now where we have respect and support for each other. What was said, how that was put forward was inappropriate, rude, disrespectful, and my concern is that if he's willing to make a comment like that to me, what's he saying to other women who may not have the strength that I do today to call that person out on that? So I'm doing that for all the women and people in our lives who are diminished in order for someone else to be bigger.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Tony, hello.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hi.
Back to Gloria's little comment. I believe you guys care. You don't do a job like this here if you don't care. Some of the reasons are I think there's some people on council have personal agendas like these bike lanes. Like I live in Hammond's Plains right now. I pay $2,400 a year in taxes. You pick up my garbage and you plow my streets. And I pay a ditch tax to help keep the infrastructure in Halifax going. Our traffic in our area is brutal. You're protecting blue water, which stops a highway that the provincial government wants to build from the 102 to the 103. And you guys are basically blocking that as a council and spending $100 million on bike lanes or just under that. You need to be fiscally responsible. You have to have the money to do that. My taxes goes up every year. I get nothing for it in this area, and you're spending $100 million on bike lanes. You need to be fiscally responsible and not have personal agendas to do things.
Okay, Tony?
Yeah, Tony to Tony. Fiscal response. I agree wholeheartedly. Look, I'm a believer of connecting our biking infrastructure, but not at any cost. Mm-hmm. In fact, after the mayor brought his motion forward that failed, I brought a motion the following council meeting to say, oh, wait a minute. Let's take a look at all our biking projects for the next 4 to 5 years, and let's just take a look at it. Is there a cheaper way to do it? It used to be 17 cents on the dollar, Tony, so that the majority of the money for a bike-related project was paid by a federal fund or a provincial fund. But now it's gone up in cost like everything else. So I agree. We need to be fiscally responsible. So I believe in December we're going to start getting the first report back, looking at the biking infrastructure, and the staff will come back and say, okay, does it have to be this AAA network, the Cadillac of all Cadillacs, or can it be something else but still connect the network at a more affordable cost? I agree wholeheartedly with you.
True. One quick thing, Becky, you said you guys voted on the motion for Moore Street. It was you only saw a partial report. Shouldn't you be voting on a full report and not a partial report? And about the Blue Water conversation or Blue Mountain that you're protecting, why wouldn't you let that highway go through there to take some transportation woes off the Hammond's Plains Road?
Well, that decision on Blue Water was based on protecting lands that have been protected consistently, and we hear every day, don't cut trees down, don't cut this down, don't clear cut on this project. And when we have opportunities like this to to protect such sensitive and important lands for the public. I do understand where your concerns are coming around with the highway. I think the province can also do a good job in designing and developing highways around spaces like that so that they also are shown to be protecting it. So in relation to that, I would put that back on the province for their highway development. I absolutely agree with your concerns around the fiscal responsibility. I take that very, very seriously. I always have, and I know Tony has. The responsibility around it is not just for one project. We think about every project that we have already committed to. We think about what is the main goal for all of this AAA network, for instance. That's just around that particular issue. We have a balancing act that we have to do around the entire municipal budget, not just one project at a time, and we have to think about all of those things. I was the seconder for Councillor Mancini's motion to bring back a list with all of the details around the costs, and we're getting, as far as a half report, a full report. I'm expecting a full report for this meeting that is coming up on August 5th, I think, yeah. And we will have the information that we need, and what we don't have, we ask. That's the benefit of council debating things, is that the information can be shared with everyone there, and we ask the questions as a council.
Awesome, appreciate that. And when you guys ran, I don't remember anybody running on the platform to protect Blue Mountain. I never heard that once until after everybody got in. And Pam Lovegrave was the first one that voted to put it down, and she never mentioned that to me once when I voted. That's all.
Okay, Tony, appreciate the call. All right, listen, lots of people on hold. If you're on hold and you didn't get a chance to talk to the councillors and you'd like to have an opportunity to have your say, we've got an open hour, so stick there. Again, if you're on hold and you want to have your say on any of these things that you heard, stick there. We've got an open hour. The way to reach us is 902-405-6000 for the open hour. Councillors, look, I appreciate you coming in. I truly do. And I will say this, that, and it bears repeating that, and I've said it a million times, that people who call this show, and I appreciate the fact everybody who picks the phone and calls, but generally are not happy, and that is not a complete reflection, in my opinion, on you guys. And so I know you don't need defending. You do good enough for yourself. But I know that there's lots of people out there who don't pick up the phone because they're happy with what you guys are doing. Yeah. I think that needs to be said. So, Tony, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, really appreciate it. Go Jays.
There you go. Becky, thank you.
Thank you. And I do understand that we do call this the hot seat.
That's right.
So we expect some heat.
That's right. There you go. And it is appreciated by everybody that you guys do this. It really is. So thanks so much.
Thanks
so much.
Okay, an open hour when we come back. All right, taking your calls, 902-405-6000. That is the way to reach us. Again, 902-405-6000. I will say this. I've had many councillors in over the years, as Rick started the tradition of councillors on the hot seat, and I don't know how long I've been doing this now, 5-6 years. Time's flying by. It's unbelievable, but that is the most visibly frustrated I've seen a councillor right there in Tony Mancini and Becky, but in particular Tony. And look, I'm not in the business of defending anybody because that's not what I do. But I will say that when it comes to Tony in particular and Becky, but I know Tony a bit better than Becky, to say that they don't care is not. That is unfair in my opinion. If you can say that about perhaps some of the councillors, but not those two. And I just know, that Tony wears the city on his sleeve like he does. And so I will say that about Tony Mancini and Becky as well. I mean, those are two councillors right there that work damn hard. Guaranteed. They work hard and put their heart on their sleeve when it comes to municipality. That said, you can disagree with what their policies are or how they're going about their business, and I disagree with some of them as well. In particular, on some of the bike lanes and some of the congestion, some of those things. But they definitely care. There's no doubt about that. And look, Tony took it personally when it was suggested that he didn't. And anyway, I just wanted to say that. 902-405-6000. That's the way to reach us. Again, 902-405-6000. Give us a call. What is on your mind today? Again, 902-405-6000. Mike's been on hold. Mike, hello.
Me, Mike?
Yes, you, Mike.
Oh, buddy. I, you know what? I had a very specific question for them. There's something going on, and I know you wouldn't know the area, but down at the bottom of Woodland Avenue, they're digging up the side of the road, and I'm trying to figure out, like, there's a bunch of new buildings along there. I'm trying to figure out, it looks a little small to be a sidewalk. I'm thinking it's more of a bike lane situation, but I wanted to find that out anyway. But just because specifically in that particular area, the road is horrible, and it's been horrible for a long time. And when you come off the Cirque and start up that way, so to give you an idea, they're kind of running it down the end of that street, Woodlawn Avenue, or Woodland, and then they're heading out towards the Dartmouth crossing. So I'm not sure if it's a bike lane to head out that way or what, but, you know, with our city streets. Todd, I am going to say this is, I did find, like, the two councillors, a little bit, you know what, and you said, and the name of the show is the hot seat.
Yeah.
I found them a little too soft-skinned. I would think you would need to be a little tougher than, you know, some words hurting your feelings. Like, I get it that, you know, they do a job, but they make more money than I do, and I bet I go through a lot more hell doing what I'm doing than they do on a daily. I can't imagine that they have to rush around the city, and I know they're not driving a big truck, so, you know, they can putt to their meetings and whatever they have to do in their communities. But, you know, I brought something up years ago, Todd, when Rick was still doing the show, and it got laughed off by the councillors, and even Rick kind of shunned it a little bit. But with the move that they're doing now to build this city up, and you often hear references to, oh, you know, Montreal or Vancouver or whatever. One of the most fascinating and extremely beneficial things that I saw is when I lived in Vancouver area, those sky trains. And you know what? You could run one of them from out Sackville in through Bedford. Every stop that the sky train stopped at, there was like a little bus depot, and you could go down. So if the bus or the sky train didn't take you to exactly where you needed to go, and I mentioned that years ago, like I said, and you know, if we were spending money on those particular issues, and you know, that just the benefits to something like that, it cleans up so much traffic, and where we've increased our traffic load exponentially, like you know, like anyway, I know it costs a lot of money, but you know what? It would be so worth it. And the one thing I saw that they missed was the changeover with Michael Savage to the new guy. I believe there's a lot of changes that Fillmore's looking at, and they're used to. It seemed like they were all on track together with their bike lane stuff, and Mr. Fillmore isn't on the same page with them. So I think that's you can. And the way Tony defended Mike Savage, it was like, oh my God, let it go, buddy. Like, it sounded like a bromance more than anything.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that's one of their big problems right now is that Fillmore isn't going along with everything Mike Savage went along with, in line to the bike lanes and all
Yeah,
that.
no, there's no doubt that the dynamic between Savage and Fillmore is different than their different approaches, and people don't like change, and people generally change is difficult, and people don't like to give up influence and power as well. And of course, there's some of that at play, Mike. And we'd be kidding ourselves if we thought otherwise, right? So
you could really feel that, and
like I said, I've been around these counselors a long time now, and I've never seen Tony visibly frustrated the way he was today, and there's a reason why, right? So it's
Gloria got to him. That's
Gloria got under her skin. She did. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
But you know what? Gloria doesn't pull any punches, and that lady has so much experience in that business that
Yeah.
she knows what they're doing.
I guess, Mike. I guess what I would say is that, and again, I'm not the defender of Tony Mancini, but to suggest that he does not care, that is to me is a bridge too far. That's a guy that wears the city on his sleeve, in my opinion, for good or for bad.
I think a better term would be not that they don't care; they're not listening.
Well, okay, that's
it's a very strong public opinion that you guys, and like she said. Do a plebiscite or whatever to find out, who really is on board with this. If you get a mass majority of bike riders that all go and vote for that and say, keep going. But I know, like you've said before, it seems like it's only the people with something to bitch about that call in and complain. But I don't know. There's not too many people I've ever talked to that are like, more bike lanes.
No, it's true. Okay,
and
Mike.
there's a lot of stuff we need in the city, too, that is getting overlooked.
Okay, Mike, appreciate the call. Take care. 902-456-0000. Mark's giving us a buzz. Hello, Mark.
Thanks for taking my call, Todd. So I wanted to talk about the mayoral powers.
Sure.
So I'm pretty conflicted on this. It's because we, as in collectively, voted for a mayor with a very clear platform when he ran, and he was given a mandate by us collectively as the people. And so to have council try to continuously put up roadblocks, and not just roadblocks, but to completely counter one of the the pillars of his mandate, to me is unacceptable. Now, on the other hand, I don't think a mayor should have unfettered power like they have in Ontario, where I read somewhere, I believe it was Ontario, where even like 1/3 of council can with the mayor can overturn a decision. I don't agree with that. That doesn't seem very democratic to me when it's in that situation. So I know a lot of people don't agree with this, and I've said it's a waste of money. So Tim Houston didn't run on any of this. Fillmore didn't. Put it to a vote. Put it to a plebiscite. Put it to a binding plebiscite. Spend the money on it. Give options, say if it's clear or not, make it binding, and then whatever the people decide, go for it, and then just move on. That's what I really think we got to do that at this point. Or else it's just going to be an endless squabble until the next election.
Yeah, there's a lot of play here, and we're talking about sweeping fundamental changes to the way we're governed. That's a massive change, strong mayor power, not to be taken lightly. And like I think conflated with all of this is the fact that people say they think it's a one issue thing. It's a bike lane issue. It's more than that. Strong mayor powers goes way beyond that, right? That's sweeping powers.
Well, yeah, it does go way beyond that. Of course it does. This is the sort of the flashpoint right now. Okay, I live on Moore Street, so this is something that I've been following for many years. When it was suggested, years ago by Way Mason. And I was against it then. I was against it now. I think most people are against it. But yes, in the broader scheme of things, of course, once you give anyone powers, it's pretty damn hard to take it away. Yeah. Right. That's what I've learned in life. So we should be careful, but thoughtful about it. And if we're going to pretend we're a true democracy, well, no one's a true democracy, but you know what I mean. Yeah. I don't see the harm of putting it to the people. Yeah, it'll cost money, but it's also going to cost money and has. is the construction of all these bike lanes. That it really appears that most people in this municipality are, like me, are against.
Yeah. Mark, it's too bad, though, to your point, that this wasn't front and center during the last election, and it could have been embedded in the election. I
agree.
What should happen with bike lanes, and that way it would have been done away with, for sure.
And not just bike lanes. And actually, what I was saying too, I agree. But what I was saying is this strong mayoral power.
Sure.
It's like it should have been an issue in the provincial election. It should have been in the. What I think it is that they're like, oh my God, I can't believe they're going through with this. And all right, what can we do? I know, we'll just do what they're doing in Ontario.
Yeah. Yeah,
so sure. it should be, but again, I think this is I know it's a complex issue. I think it should go to the people, and I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Okay, all right, thanks for the call. 902-405-6000. We'll continue with your calls when we come back.
Facts.
902-405-6000. That's the way to reach us. Again, 902-405-6000. We've got an open hour. Ken's giving us a call. Hello, Ken.
Hi, Todd. Just a quick note. Before Buddy come on and he said honey to Becky Kent, she cut off callers twice. And I'm sitting here, listening to the show going, wow, is she in a bad mood this morning? And as far as Tony Mancini preaching physically responsibility, when something is quoted at 25 million and you're now at 100 million and you still want it to go ahead, that's not being physically or what do you call it?
Fiscally.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Right. But the reason why I was hoping to get on while the councillors were there, right? Because every time they're on and somebody asks for a number, oh no, I don't have this number in front of me. Why wouldn't they bring their laptops to the show instead of a record album for you?
Well, because they wouldn't be connected to the Wi-Fi, first of all. That would be the first reason, I guess. And I suppose they could connect to the Wi-Fi. I don't know why they don't bring laptops. I know that, of course, when look, I don't have a good answer for you.
I mean, it's like a Zoom call. You don't have to be there at the station, right? They could call you from their chambers downtown or whatever and have a laptop in front of them. So when Gloria calls in or anybody else calls in and says, how come this project is gone overrun by, 50 or 75, 100 million or whatever the case may be, they can give them an answer, right? But in the long run, then they would have to be accountable, right? So what's the easy way? Let's not bring in the laptop so I can answer that. And I'll just say, oh, well, no, I can't answer that for you right now. And right from when Rick started this show, right, I told him right from the start, I said, you need to change the name of your show, Rick, because you don't answer any or you don't ask any tough questions. I said, you should call it Councillors on the Coal Seat. Because I'll tell you, if somebody calls in and says, what, you don't care? And then you want to take your toys and leave the playground? Come on. I'm with the first caller after the show who said you need a little thicker skin, right? And like Becky's going on, I'm a professional. Come on, right? Hardly. Anyway, thanks, Todd.
Okay, take care. 902-405-6000. And when it's councillors on the hot seat, it's not. I leave that up to the callers. That's the callers' opportunity to drill the councillors, which they do. 902-405-6000. That is the way to reach us. Again, 902-405-6000. Kim's a first-time caller, so Kim, I wanted to get you right on. Go ahead, Kim.
Hi, yeah. I just have something to say about the bike lanes in Halifax.
Sure.
If they're going to use the city streets that taxpayers pay for and that drivers, their registration and their licensing pays for the road, bicycles should have the same responsibility. They should be registered, pay a registration fee, and they should be licensed every year. And that revenue should go for better and more reliable public transportation. And then you kill two birds with one stone. And cyclists should have more responsibility because they're using public roads. And they don't follow the traffic laws, from my experience, from what I've seen. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay, I guess one of the counters that I've said often when people have brought up the idea that bikes should be registered and insured and all that, I get the argument for it. I truly do. It's not without warrant. I suppose the counter would be that might result in fewer people riding bikes because people would say, oh, hell with that, I'm not going to bother with it because if I have to register it and it's going to cost me money to do it every year, or have it insured or whatever, then therefore they would not ride bikes. So that would be.
But we have to share the roads with them, and that's our responsibility.
Yeah, I get it. Your point is not without warrant. I agree. I can see your argument, Kim.
All right.
Okay.
Well, that's all I have to say.
Okay. All right.
You.
Thanks for the call. 902-405-6000. Again, 902-405-6000. Dave, hello.
Hey, Todd.
Hi
Thanks
there.
for taking my call. Appreciate it.
Sure.
You're looking good, by the way. Just appreciated sort of the kind of the inside scoop for the councillors. I tried to call, but it was busy today. A little bit, a little spicy.
Yeah.
But here's one of the things I thought just as I was listening was, obviously things are tough between the mayor and between some of the councillors right now. And when I don't know the mayor personally, but when you look up his resume, he started politics in 2015 under the leadership of, guess who, Mr. Trudeau.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a lot of the antics that he is pulling, according to the councillors, he's learned from the best. And I think what we're seeing on a municipal level is what we unfortunately endured and continue to endure on a federal level. And I would just say that, the tactics, seem to be divisive in nature, seem to be, pulling fast ones that are politically charged but grab quick popularity when we're really not dealing with the real issues of HRM. I mean, bike lanes, I get it, but my goodness, our area, our city, if it's going to double in population, bike lanes, my goodness, like there are so many other things we should be talking about. And it just seems to me that, again, we're seeing lackluster leadership from a leader who has learned lackluster leadership because he's been taught by the best. And my urging to the councillors would be, look, try and get past some of that stuff because, they seemed quite strong today and got a little upset.
Mm-hmm.
If you do really care and you aren't doing it for a paycheck, and I believe that part, public office is tough. But man, you got to work around or with this guy as best you can because our HRM's just got so many big things to deal with.
Okay, Dave, fair comment. Thanks for the call.
Okay, thanks.
All right,
Appreciate
take care. 902-405-6000. Give us a call. An open hour continues when we come back. All right, continuing with your calls. The way to reach us is 902-405-6000. Again, 902-405-6000. What is on your mind today? Again, 902-405-6000. Earlier in the show, we had Tony Mancini and Becky Kent here in studio taking calls, and it got heated, I would say, at times. And some people sending me emails suggested that the councillors got too defensive. Some emailed me saying that callers were too aggressive. What are your thoughts on I guess the state of council? It's pretty evident to me that Tony Mancini admitted it, that he's frustrated, that it's a frustrating time to be on council right now, more so since he's been on council. And at the heart of all of this, of course, is Andy Fillmore, the new mayor, and strong mayor powers, which he is seeking, which it appears as though the province is going to give him. And look, there's not everybody around council agrees that he should have strong mayor powers. And what are your thoughts on this? Some believe that it would be highly appropriate, completely appropriate for the mayor to be given empowered more powers. Feeling as though that somebody needs to take control of council and run the council in a more authoritative way, I guess, with more direction. Others feel as though it's an erosion of democracy. But one thing's for sure is that council is divided right now, folks. It's not all well and happiness around the council table right now. 902-405-6000. And, of course, at the crux of all of it, at the heart of most of it, is the bike lane issue. And Morris Street in particular, which the province is stepping in and will override the decision to make it a one-way street. And I saw a story in the Chronicle Herald this morning in which one of the ministers was, I'll read a bit of it. Then we'll go back to the phones. The province is absolutely justified in directing managing traffic on a municipal street, says Nova Scotia's Public Works Minister. A quote from Fred Tilley in the story says, the province has a responsibility to fix traffic, and anything that is going to hamper the fixing of traffic and reducing that level is something that is absolutely in the purview of the province. This is a concern with increasing congestion in HRM, Tilley said. The Premier has been very clear on this issue. The story goes on to say Premier Tim Houston delivered that clear message in an open letter more than 2 weeks ago, directed to Halifax Mayor Andy Fillmore, Halifax Regional Council, and the CAO, Cathy O'Toole. So, look, folks, at the heart of all of this, of course, is this bike lane issue. But like Tony Mancini has said, and others have said, and I've said on the show, and Dan said while he was sitting in for me, that if you give the mayor sweeping powers, strong mayor powers, or if the premier steps in on a decision which is council has made, and you like it, you like that particular decision, then that will probably result in you supporting that at that time. But if in fact the mayor with these emboldened powers or the premier steps in and reverses something that you don't like or you don't agree with, then suddenly many of you will be saying, well, this is an override of our democratic institution and our democracy in general in the municipality. So I guess the old adage, be careful what you wish for, is applicable. 902-405-6000, that is the way to reach us. Owen's giving us a call. Hello, Owen. Owen, are you there? All right, I'll go back to Owen. 902-405-6000. Another Owen. Owen, hello.
Hello.
Hi there. Go ahead.
Yeah, Todd, relative to the councillors, this is just my opinion. It shouldn't be called councillors on the hot seat. It should be called clowns on the hot seat. And I say that because they couldn't even answer a question if a white elephant walked down the street, what level of government would be responsible for it. And I would sincerely like if you would ask every councillor that comes on your show, have they ever taken a perk or a bribe during their career? Follow the money.
Thanks for the call. 902-405-6000. That is the way to reach us. Let's see. Let's talk to Greg. Hello, Greg.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, you?
Good, good. Yeah, I was actually hoping to talk to the councillors as well. I live on a fairly busy street in Eastern Passage, Briarwood Drive, that's pretty much used as a shortcut going from Caldwell Road down to Cow Bay. I've lived on here for 9.5 years, and I've been talking to the councillor, Becky Kent, about trying to get the traffic slowed down on the street. People are just up and down like it's a racetrack, and it's actually gotten so bad lately that some of the residents have gotten in their vehicles and they're chasing down these speeders, which is not going to result in a good thing. Now, if the province is willing to take over stuff that the councillors are not dealing with, I think that would be an excellent idea. Thanks, Todd.
Okay, appreciate the call. 902-405-6000. Jim, hello.
Good morning, Todd. How are you?
I'm well, you?
Hey, good. TGIM, Todd.
Yeah.
Beautiful day outside today.
Yeah, it is.
Todd, the Donald Sutherland, born in New Brunswick and raised in Bridgewater, I think. Great actor. In 2015, Todd, a lot of people didn't know he produced a movie. It's almost like a love letter to Nova Scotia. It's called Pirates Passage. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have not.
It's on CBC Gem, and when it came out a long time ago, it's a fantastic movie. Anyone who wants to watch it, do themselves a favor. It's a who's who of Canadian talent, like Gordon Pinsent, Paul Gross, Colm Dior, even Carrie-Anne Moss from The Matrix. It is animated. The best way to watch this one is on a foggy Nova Scotia night in the summertime. It's great for the whole family from age 8 and up. It comes from a book written by William Gilkerson. The book's fantastic, but before he passed, obviously, I think it's his way of saying, it's almost a thank you or a love letter to Nova Scotia. It's a wonderful movie to watch, and it's pirates, it's treasure, and it's good for the whole family, and it's just a real good feel-good movie, but it kind of takes you back to your days when you were younger, growing up in Nova Scotia by the ocean. It's one to watch.
Very good. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate the recommendation.
Okay. Take care.
All right, take care. 902-405-6000. Cameron, hello. Hi, Cameron. Cameron, are you there? Okay, put Cameron on hold for a minute or two. We got open lines for you, folks. Give us a call, 902-405-6000. Again, 902-405-6000. I'll read a couple of emails, and then we'll go back to the phones. Barbara says this. Barbara says, I support Gloria McCluskey's comment regarding councillors not caring enough to have the amount of taxpayers' money spent to date on Morris Street. This is a hot topic on the public's mind and not an issue from years ago. They should anticipate that we would want to know the amount. Gloria did not say in general that the councillors don't care, just this hot topic. But, of course, Tony had to take it to heart because he was defensive. This one here from Claire says, Becky Kent seemed to be bullying the callers. I personally support Mayor Fillmore and the Premier. As for vibrancy in downtown Dartmouth, really, I drove down it last week and it was shabby. I have no desire to go there. 902-405-6000. Grant says this. Grant is truly disappointed in the naivete of the councillors today or the complete disregard of reality in these two councillors. Halifax is the new Vancouver, most expensive city in the country. People are leaving, not moving here. Becky is just hard-nosed and will not move her opinions left or right. Disappointed is not strong enough. 902-405-6000. This email from Don, then I'll go back to the phones. Don says, we need only look south of the border to understand the terror that could result from a strong mayor. Changing to a strong mayor city government is a significant change to our current political democracy, and a referendum at least should be held. 902-405-6000. Give us a call. We'll get open line for you. Again, 902-405-6000. Let's try Cameron again. Hello, Cameron.
Yes, good day, Todd.
Hi there.
I just listen. Everybody's going on about this bike lanes. Why don't we just put the thing to bed and get rid of all the bike lanes? Get the concrete off the streets and get the bike lanes out of the way and be done with it. We don't need them. It's a waste of money. We could be putting that money to much better use. I think it's useless, totally useless and foolish. That's all I have to say.
And Cameron, would you agree that not everybody agrees with you, though, I suppose?
Yeah, well, lots of people disagree with other people, but the general consensus is there's no need for these bike lanes. Wouldn't you not agree there?
Well, look, I'm not. I personally think that definitely there's a cost issue that I have a real challenge with. I think that there is a extremely strong lobby out there, a bicycle lobby, which has a lot of influence over this council, too much influence over this council, I would say, and I think that. I don't think that nearly as many people are using them as we're told are using them. But look, I'm not 25 years old or 30 years old anymore and able to ride a bicycle and eager to do so. I think Cameron, it's like anything. If it's something that you want and it's something that fits your lifestyle and something that you could take advantage of, you would be for it. If it's something that you'll never use and you don't care to use it, and then it's easy to not care about it and say it's a waste of money. I think it comes down to, in many cases, your own personal experience and your own lived experience, like most things in life. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, but Todd, you can still drive a bike in the city. There's nobody stopping you from buying a bike, but you don't need to spend $1 million worth of taxpayers' money to do it. The traffic situation would improve by at least 50% if we did away with all those bike lanes and barricades.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I get it. I get it. Look, I find it frustrating. I do. I really honestly do. I also find it frustrating when I'm riding when I'm driving my vehicle on a road, on a windy road, and there's a group of bicyclists and there's nowhere to get by them, and you're stuck behind them and you're driving 20 clicks an hour for 4 or 5 kilometers because the recreational bicyclists are out having a nice pedal. I find that annoying too. I'll be completely honest with you. I do.
Yeah. One of the big things is if you ask any member on council how many cyclists there are in the core city of HRM, they have no idea. They don't know. The only people that say there's this many are the cyclist groups, and they exaggerate those numbers by a huge amount. I'll bet you anything.
Yeah. Cameron, I would agree with you that there's a disproportionate amount of support for bicycles, and it's a loud lobby group. It's a powerful lobby group, and they have a lot of sway over this council. I think that is safe to say. I would agree with that, 100%.
Yeah. That's my 10 cents worth.
Okay, thanks for the call, 902-405-6000. But again, folks, look, if I were somebody who wanted to ride a bike every day and had my health and was young and could do it, and I was riding a bike, would I like to see a bike lane? Absolutely, I would, 100%. It's just like if I were a big soccer fan and I wanted to go to the Wanderers and I loved and ate and breathed it, would I love to see a stadium? 100% I would. Conversely, if I don't give a rat's about soccer and I don't care about a stadium, do I want a stadium? No, I don't. So a lot of this depends on your own experience. It's just the nature. That's human nature. 902-405-6000. That's the way to reach us. We'll continue with your calls when we come back. All right, continuing with your calls. The way to reach us is 902-405-6000. Robert, hello.
Good morning.
Hi there.
I wasn't able to get on when the councillors were on too, but I have a question for you. Ask them the next time they're on. They supported the transition to electric transit buses overwhelmingly, and I agree with you because of the lobbyists. I think they said that the most efficient ones at the time, the technology was a hybrid version. But my question is that the old bridge has weight limits and commercial vehicles are not allowed on it because of the weight limits, and that these new battery-powered buses are approximately double the weight of the existing buses. So are they going to be able to transition across the old bridge, or is this just another red herring that we're going to be stuck with in Halifax?
Well, obviously they're going to allow the exception of the weight. I heard this weekend on the McDonald Bridge, for example, there were weight restrictions for certain vehicles, except buses. So I would say that that will be an exception, the weight of the bus.
So that must be they're putting that message out now, probably because the message of the overweight battery-operated buses is out there now, so they're trying to get ahead of that, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Well, but to your broader point, Robert, when at some point when all vehicles are electric, all vehicles are going to weigh more, and that's going to be a lot more wear and tear on our road infrastructure, right? So,
absolutely,
yeah. Because I'm not sure how much more a regular car weighs, but it's quite a bit heavier.
Oh yeah. Most definitely. They said the best deal on cars right now are electric cars because nobody wants to buy them.
Yeah.
Use Tesla, I guess.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Okay, pal. Take care. 902-405-6000. Rick, hello.
How you doing?
I'm well, you?
Not too bad. Just a couple of points on the bike lanes. Why don't you guys get somebody on there from the bike people and ask them where they'd rather bike? Because I was talking to an ex-biker, and she told me that she doesn't want to bike with the traffic. She'd rather be on the side streets. And also, when you put up these markers or these cones and take away that 5 feet from the curb line, and you're driving big trucks like I do all day, and you're clearing up your lanes on these major routes, then come wintertime, you can't get rid of your snow, so now your lanes are lower. It would make more sense to put the bike lanes on side streets and get them away from the major traffic flow. Side streets go to the same place, do they not?
Yeah.
You know, like ask the bikers where they'd rather bike. I'd rather bike. I'm not a biker. I'll buy an electric bike. I'm going to try to get into it, but I don't want to bike with traffic doing 50, 60 kilometers an hour past me. I'd rather bike on some side street where you might meet one or two cars. You can put the bike lanes on those side streets a lot easier. You don't have the traffic congestion to deal with. And when you put on these 5-foot strips for the bike lanes, and then you get a bus, the bus got no place to pull over. Now that's impeding traffic. So yes, bike lanes do impede traffic. Maybe not the bikes themselves, but the whole scenario impedes the traffic flow in Halifax. Do you not agree with that?
Yeah, I get it. And I think that's what Mayor Fillmore's initial motion was about, was to explore other options, including side streets as potentially a better option for it. To your point. So yeah, I think it's worth exploring.
I just think that Sam and Tony, I think they're just got an agenda to get bike lanes through the city. I really do, and that's why they're pushing for this. And as taxpayers right now, you've got people that can't afford to live, okay? And with the sort of recession that's coming, or we're sort of in a recession now with what's going on south of the border, people are struggling. And then to spend $100 million over, whether it doesn't have to be $100 million this year, but over the next 2 or 3 years on bike lanes, when there's so much more that's needed, it's kind of insane, right?
Right. Okay, Rick. Thanks for the call.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. 902-405-6000. Dan, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well. You?
Not bad, thanks. Just further to the bike lanes, I'm just looking at the costs and whatnot involved. Not sure if there's anything in place, but maybe there should be some sort of a regulation, like a registration for the bikes. Maybe someone regulating them as well, make sure that they're following all the traffic laws. But tickets and taking away their registration if they're not abiding by the traffic laws, same as a vehicle. They seem to have the same rights on the road as a vehicle. Why not give them the same regulations?
Yeah, there's been talk about that, and enforcement, I think, is something that is needed, because especially with these e-bikes and the speed that these e-bikes can go, right? I mean, they're practically motorcycles anyway, so it's. I think that we need to figure that component out. Enforcement is part of it, Dan, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay, thanks for the call. Take care. Sandra, hello.
Hi, I'm Todd. Do you know anything about the one-shot parking solutions?
No, I don't.
Well, we went into the Multicultural on Saturday, and we parked on Parkman Street, where there were signs saying that the machine wasn't working. Less than an hour later, a guy's got our truck locked up, and it's $114 to have it released.
Wow. Well, yeah.
So
yeah, that must have been a private parking lot, was it?
I don't really know.
Yeah.
All I know is that you couldn't get a ticket out, and it said it was at a service. Yeah. We were less than an hour.
Wow.
Went back, and the truck is all locked up. A guy, we called, it took 20 minutes, and it's $114 to.
Yeah, that'd be a private parking lot, I think, because I think municipal parking, you just get a ticket. I don't think they boot you. That would be to my knowledge. But anyway, Sandra, that's unfortunate for sure.
Really? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Take care. All right, Irene, quickly if you can, please. I want to get you on. Go ahead.
I'm a 77-year-old senior, and I really am trying to keep myself fit, and I seriously contemplated purchasing an electric bike to use for shopping between my apartment building in West Bedford down to Mill Cove, where I would have access to everything that I would need. But when I looked at the route I would have to take, it was too dangerous. There were no sidewalks. There wasn't a decent shoulder on the road to allow me to navigate through all the on-off ramps for the 102. And I scrapped the idea. I think we need bike routes. I do think we do need bike lanes, but we don't need one. We need consistent strategy to develop good bike lanes at a reasonable cost, because I think if they were there, more people would use them. I certainly would.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Thanks for the call. All right,
Great.
take care. Look, I think that it makes sense that if you had them, more people would use them. There's no doubt about that. Anybody who says that contrary to that is not thinking logically. Of course, people would use them. It's just a matter of how many people would use them. And would it be worth the offset? Of course, the financial offset, and then the supposed congestion and the real estate in which it would take on the roadways or take away from. That is the question. It's the balancing act. But, of course, more people would use bike lanes if you had them there. I think that's a no-brainer. It's just a matter of how many and for how long, because we know that in winter and when things get cold around here and icy and snowy, I doubt that they'd be heavily used. I really don't believe that they would be. So for half the year, you're not going to have them used really at all. Thanks for the calls, everybody. We appreciate it very much. U.S. Politics with Mark Brewer when we come back. All right, joining us for a chat, it's Mark Brewer, University of Maine political science professor. Mark Brewer, it's hot in Maine, no doubt, right?
It is. It's oppressive in my opinion, but I'm not a heat guy.
That's for sure. Lots of humidity, though, inland where you're at as well, right? Just no relief with the coastal ocean breeze at all.
No, not here. Not at all.
All right, so let's talk U.S. politics. I saw a story this morning, and the U.S. economy, according to reports, is thriving in spite of tariffs, and this is good news for the president, no doubt. It kind of speaks to his narrative, plays into his narrative quite well, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, one of the things that Trump has asserted all along, he did it during his first campaign. He did it during his first term. He did it even more in his second campaign. And so far in his second term has said that, trust me, these tariffs are going to be good for the American economy. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to make the economy better. And, the data, data you refer to certainly would seem to support Trump's claim there, without a doubt.
All right. So, look, nobody wants to see. I shouldn't say nobody. Nobody should want to see the U.S. economy tank. But his political opponents, I'm sure that they who have opined and said that this is going to be horrible for the economy. Well, they don't. They kind of are deflated here a bit, are they not? Or their argument is deflated a bit.
At the moment, that's certainly true. I mean, and more than that, I think Democrats, would tell you if you put the truth serum to them that their position in the upcoming 2026 midterm elections would be improved if the American economy is not doing well. That all being said, there are plenty of economists and lots of Democrats as well saying just wait. Right, that so far the American economy has been pretty resilient, but as tariff deals are finalized, right, we know that there's a deal, of course, done with the EU, is the most recent one. Negotiations are ongoing today in Sweden, I believe, with China. But they're saying that what we're seeing so far is that even when deals are completed, the goods are going to be higher than they were before. The cost is, right. I mean, Europe is going to be 15%. That's higher than it was before, which is around 5%. Those tariffs, those economists say, will eventually bite American consumers and hurt the economy. Whether that ends up being true, I think remains to be seen.
Okay, how about Trump's prognostication or predictions when it comes to dealing with Russia and being able to solve the Ukrainian situation rapidly, same as the Middle East, if elected? Does he have to justify that not happening, or does he just simply kind of pivot as he does in Trump fashion?
Yeah, my guess is that that's a less important claim for him. I mean, I think Americans are going to hold. I think. I mean, it's hard to say with anything with any certainty because it's things that we used to think were definitely true sometimes aren't true with Trump. But I think that the things that Americans would hold Trump accountable on in terms of claims he made in the 2024 campaign are first and foremost the economy. And second, the situation on America's southern border and immigration, right? If he can show Americans, hey, I'm doing those things that I told you I was going to do on those fronts, most Americans either aren't going to care or aren't going to hold him accountable on Russia or what's going on in Gaza, right? They're just not. And that's not necessarily just a Trump thing. That's, American politics for the most part. Foreign policy tends to be an afterthought in American politics unless American soldiers are actually fighting and dying in a foreign country. Then that's different.
Yeah.
But unless that's happening, foreign policy usually plays a pretty minor role. I think if Trump can show he's delivering on the economy and on immigration, he'll be in very good shape.
How about immigration and deportations and all that? And we know that what happened in California and Los Angeles in particular, and this situation with Alcatraz, and what are your thoughts? Look, there's a cohort of Americans that like that. They think that's great, right? They say more of that, bring it on.
No, for sure, and those people are diehard Trump supporters. There is some evidence that there are some voters who voted for Trump who are saying, well, we want to tighten up the southern border and we want to deport people who are here illegally who committed crimes, but we weren't looking to deport someone who'd been here for 25 years and was a pillar of the community, which is happening. I think it's too soon to say what the ultimate reaction to Trump's immigration policies is going to be heading into the 2026 midterms. But I will say, so far, Trump is more or less doing what he said he was going to do on this. If anybody is surprised by this, I don't know where they were during the campaign. And I think his supporters, his base, loves it. And as you said, they want more, bring it on, Alcatraz, they love that. Let's build more of those things, right? So I think that's still up in the air, the same way that the economy is. The one thing we have to remember is that November 2026 is a lifetime away in political time.
Why is it that Trump can get away with saying completely nonsensical things that make no sense, like talking about bringing down the pharmacare drugs by 1,000%, and just things that not only are outrageous but make no sense, and it would make you wonder how competent could somebody be to say something so asininely ridiculous. Why does he get a pass for being so just inextricably wrong on so many things?
That's a $64,000 question, right? I don't have an answer to that. It's I've thought that all along. Well, eventually, say, assuredly, this is going to be the one claim that is going to be so outrageous that he's going to get called on it and be held accountable. And so far, that hasn't come, right? Trump seems to operate under rules that I think are only applicable to Trump, right? Trump seems to be able to be completely detached from reality, make claims that have no basis in fact or evidence, that if another person made, they would either be a laughingstock or they'd be called on this or something would happen. And Trump seems to suffer zero repercussions, right? And some part of me wonders if he doesn't think to himself, okay, I've got away with it so far. Let me come up with something even more outrageous and say that and see if I can get away with this. And every time he does that, he gets away with it. And so he's, okay, I'll say something else. I don't know if that's true, but there doesn't seem to be a limit on what he can say.
On the Epstein story and the Epstein files, or whatever we're calling it at this point, and we hear, or I hear that Mega's turned against him or whatever. Is that true? Is Mega turned against him, or is that just the mainstream media, to use that terminology, saying that Mega's turned against him?
Well, this might be the one situation that might be a little different. And I say that with caution because I've thought before, like I remember back to the campaign, when the Access Hollywood video came out, I thought, okay, that's the one, right? And that if he could get away with that, then you think he can get away with anything. But this one might be different, right? One thing we do know is that from various public opinion polls, about 30% or so of Republicans disapprove of Trump's handling of Epstein, whatever you want to call it, files, hoax, as he calls it, whatever. They disapprove of that. That's a high number of Republicans, right? Democrats recognize there's some value in this, so they're piling on. We've seen some Republicans in the House, voting in opposition to Trump, saying, "Yeah, we want these files subpoenaed." We know that this forced Speaker of the House Mike Johnson to adjourn early and go on recess so that they wouldn't have to have votes that they didn't want to have on Epstein. The reporting by the Wall Street Journal and other outlets about Trump's name being mentioned in there, about this letter or this drawing, which Trump says he didn't do. All that stuff is just ratcheting up the pressure on Epstein, or pressure over the Epstein issue on Trump. And this might be the one that he's not able to shake. I mean, he's stoked, him and a lot of his key officials have stoked, the Epstein conspiracy angles for years, right? And then all of a sudden to come out and say, oh, yeah, there's nothing to see here, right? Move on. I don't know. This one I think is going to be a test of his ability to control the narrative and his followers.
But you can almost sense that his followers want to give him a pass. They want to forgive him. Like it's almost seems to be reluctant controversy.
No, I think that's true. I'm sure that his base, they will forgive him for just about anything. But this one is like, this is his appeal is in many ways to his base has been built on these elites are screwing you. They've been getting away with crimes that it's to your disadvantage for years. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to take action for you. We're going to hold these people accountable. We're going to make the American government work for the forgotten Americans again and hold these elites accountable. Right. And this is the Epstein was an example of it. And it fits in with a lot of the larger narratives and like QAnon and Pizzagate and pedophiles and, satanic, and all that stuff way out there in the far alt-right that Trump has played into. The Epstein files fit with that. And so he's going to have a hard time on this unless and until he can present some information that satisfies the people in his base that are right now not satisfied. And I don't know what that would be, right? I don't know what that would be that he could produce.
So what type of resolution can come of this? When does this story go away? How does this story go away?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to this. I think Trump was hoping that, okay, we adjourn Congress, or at least the House. I go to Scotland. I tell, say I've directed my Attorney General to, ask for the release of grand jury testimony. All these things have been done. I think that was the hope, that it would go away after that. It hasn't, right? Maybe, by the time the House comes back in the fall, it'll have died down. I don't know the answer to that. Generally, when you get people out of Washington, that can sometimes take the air out of some issues. And right now, nobody wants to be in Washington, D.C. in August. It is about one of the most miserable places on earth. We were talking about heat and humidity here. Washington's a swamp, right? So being there in August is not good. Maybe by the time folks come back in the fall, we'll be talking about and looking at a different situation. But right now, this doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And I have a hard time envisioning possible ways that this gets resolved with a nice and tidy and a bow on top. I can't think of one of those.
Okay, Mark, always great. Appreciate it, my friend. We'll do it again.
All right, sounds good, Todd. Thank
All right,
you.
take care. Mark Brewer, University of Maine political science professor. Seniors rarely downsize. Find out why when we come back.
X.
I saw this story recently on the CVU website. Seniors rarely downsize. Here's why that's hurting first-time homebuyers. Is the headline. Joining us to discuss all this is Mike Moffatt, founding director of the Missing Middle Initiative at the University of Ottawa. Mike, thanks for joining the show again. We appreciate it, your input.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's dissect as to what's going on here. Why? Because it would seem as though that's a natural progression. That you would reach a certain stage of your life, you'd have this big house, all the family moved out, and it would be time to sell that and to get some equity from that and downsize. Why is that not happening?
Yeah, it turns out that the seniors move at less than half of the rate of other adults, and a lot of it is just a lack of options. Seniors, want to stay in the neighborhoods that they're already in. They like their amenities, the local stores, dog parks, their friends are there. And they find that there's nothing really suitable for them, that there's not a lot of seniors-friendly housing, smaller houses that still might have a lawn, a garden, somewhere to barbecue, that kind of thing. So often they're saying, well look, I don't get that much extra money out of the end of it, and I don't get a house that really suits my needs, so I'll just stay where I am. It's a lot easier that way.
All right, and of course that has a downstream effect on everybody else, right?
Well, it does, yeah, absolutely. So when municipalities are making their official plans, when they're deciding, how much land to open up for development and things like that, they make assumptions around the rate that seniors are going to downsize. And what's been happening is municipalities have been overestimating that amount, which means that they are assuming a lot more homes are going to open up than actually happens. So they're not allowing for enough more housing to be built, particularly 3-4 bedroom, the kind of homes that are suitable for families with young kids.
Okay, so what would need to happen in order to reverse this trend, and I guess who ultimately would be responsible for it? Would it government initiatives? Is it private sector? How does this trend reverse?
Yeah, so I think it's a bit of both. So first, I think we need to make it easier to build seniors-friendly housing in existing neighborhoods. So, that's 2-bedroom homes that have, say, fewer stairs, but again, still have room for gardens, barbecuing and things like that. But I also think that the municipalities need to be a little bit more realistic when they're making their official plans, not to assume that there's going to be this exodus of seniors, and instead say, okay, since those homes aren't going to be opening up, how can we make sure that we have enough land to build more homes for young families? How can we keep the taxes low enough that those young families can afford it, and so on?
Okay, so I would think that owning I own a home and I'm 56 years old, so I'm quickly kind of marching towards this cohort, but it's expensive to own a home, I guess. When all is said and done, it's expensive to rent as well, but it costs a lot of money for upkeep. You're endlessly needing money for, and I mean thousands and thousands of dollars seemingly all the time, for a roof, for a fridge, for a furnace, for a whatever, a lawn care. I could go on and on and on. So that must be a factor here at play as well, as seniors can start to struggle financially and feel the pinch.
Yeah, absolutely. That can be, and that can be one of the sort of attractive things for downsizing. Now, there are options for seniors that many municipalities allow property taxes to be deferred for seniors. There are opportunities, things like reverse mortgages and things like that we see seniors using to help pay those bills. But it does show that I think if you build the right type of housing, it could be very attractive to seniors, because you do miss all those costs. My parents are in their late 70s in London, Ontario, and they pay all of those costs. And they only use about 10 to 15% of their house. They would love to be able to downsize, but my dad, keeps looking and, doesn't want to move downtown and live on the 27th floor of a high rise, right? So, but that seems to be the only thing that's getting marketed towards him.
And of course, cognitively, it's like I can remember moving our parents out of the home that we were raised in, and my dad was in his kind of earlier stages of dementia at the time. And once they moved, there was a noticeable decline. It just really took a huge impact on them, and I think that's at play as well, right? That cognitive connection and potential decline when you go through a massive move like that for somebody in particular in the early stages of dementia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the challenges of, the kind of current setup we have, because that absolutely happens, that a lot of times seniors will stay in their home until they physically can't anymore. But at that point, it gets so much harder to move them into a new place because of issues like cognitive decline. So I do think that example, and we see it all over the place, really creates a need to create more seniors-friendly housing, so that way they can move and, in their early to mid 70s, rather than what we see now, where a lot of the moves happen, post 85, and that transition gets a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, and of course the bottom line is that at some point somebody's got to build this more appropriate housing for people, whether it be government driven or initiative, or banks need to incentivize it, or developers need to get on board, but until that happens, this problem is going to persist. Is my point.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they need a place to move to, and again, a place that meets their needs. So many of them want to stay, in those existing neighborhoods. They don't want to move to a high rise on the other side of the city. So, yeah, we'll take government and industry working together and saying, okay, how can we create the types of homes that work for seniors in the neighborhoods that seniors want to live in?
Mike, always a good chat. Appreciate your insight as always, my friend, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, sounds good. Take care.
All right, take care. Mike Moffatt, founding director of the Missing Middle Initiative at the University of Ottawa. Federal Health Minister non-committal on signing more pharmacare deals, including with Nova Scotia. We've not had a deal signed yet. We'll get to this when we come back.
Acts.
The federal health minister not committing to sign pharmacare funding deals with all provinces and territories. The first phase of the pharmacare law was passed by the Truro Liberals last fall, called on Ottawa to cover the cost of contraceptives and diabetes medication for patients. The previous government signed deals with Prince Edward Island, BC, Manitoba, and Yukon to do just that before the spring election. The Liberals promised during the election campaign to protect the pharmacare program along with other social programs. However, at a press conference recently, when asked why talks weren't progressing with the remaining provinces, the health minister said, "This is a new government in a new context." Joining us to discuss all of this is Stephen Staples, National Director of Policy and Advocacy with the Canadian Health Coalition. Stephen, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Todd. Nice to talk to you.
All right, so we talked about this fairly recently, and we know that the premiers met last week and healthcare, and it was on the agenda. We talked about it. But what are your thoughts on this in general? Are you disappointed, or what are your thoughts?
Shocking, actually, Todd, I'd say. This really came out of the blue. We had been assuming that the commitments would be met by this government. The funding is in place. This is not new money. This is money that's already been budgeted and approved in the last year. $1.5 billion over 5 years for the government to go out and negotiate agreements, and they seem to be backtracking on that commitment.
Yeah, really, there's no other reason why they wouldn't do it, right? I mean, it doesn't. Why else delay?
What's the holdup exactly? Yeah. When we've got. We're seeing now reports. You mentioned the comments in New Brunswick. We're now hearing comments from New Brunswick Health Minister saying they're looking for a deal. There's been talks ongoing, but he's kind of pointing the finger at the feds, saying they're being stingy. They're not putting the money forward. And then we've got this comment from the new Health Minister, Marjorie Michel, saying there may not be new agreements, and journalists phoning into the office to get clarification. I think everybody would like clarification, particularly people in Nova Scotia, because Nova Scotia health government officials have said, they're waiting for an invitation to go back to the table. So we've got several jurisdictions ready to get talking, move on. We've done some estimates in terms of the costing on this, just looking at what the data we have from the 4 agreements already that are in place. Upwards of probably about $200 million over 4 years for Nova Scotia, and to get the same level of benefit that people right next door in PEI have. They've got they're going to have free contraceptives and diabetes medication. Why is it any different for New Brunswick or Nova Scotia?
Can this even work with just 4 provinces on board? I mean, I would think fiscally it doesn't work after a while, does it?
Well, I think we'll get some good data. We'll get some analysis, and millions of people are going to be covered by this program, and if you're lucky enough to live in one of those 4 jurisdictions. But we're concerned that this is going to create a patchwork for pharmacare, where 4 out of 5 Canadians won't be covered, but 1 out of 5 will. So it's not fair that those provinces that sign deals early are able to benefit it. It shouldn't be first come, first serve. The intention of it was to sign deals with all the provinces and territories over time, and we will really want to keep that momentum going. And we've got more provinces that are willing to do it. Even not fortunately, but interestingly, they are smaller provinces, so the fiscal impact when we're talking about the Canada Health Transfer, for instance, the federal government sends over $50 billion every year to provinces. This money is very small and would not cost much for the Carney Liberals to make good on their promise.
Yeah, and again, it's just to offer no reason, no justification as to why, I think is leaves people to ponder and speculate as we do, right?
Yes. What do they know, and when did they know it? Was this always the plan? Was this not clear during the election? We were always told that pharmacare was a priority. Prime Minister Carney mentioned it many times about protecting pharmacare, dental care. He would say those in the same breath. Now, it's true he did not commit to expanding the list of medications beyond the two that are in these agreements, which is, as you mentioned, contraceptives and diabetes medication. But hey, that's a good start, and we've got to get more provinces on so we can get a critical mass. On the good side, Todd, I don't want to be totally negative, but it took a long time for even our national Medicare system to be built. Many years ago, it wasn't all at once. It was one province at a time, and it took years to get it together. But it was a willing Parliament and governments, successive governments that were putting it together and were convinced of the benefits. And I think that's just the case here with pharmacare. We got to keep moving forward, and then we're going to have a whole accounting of what's happening. I'll just mention, I was at a breakfast sponsored by the Canadian Federation of Nurses Unions where the premiers attended, most of them, and I spoke to several that have signed agreements. They were very happy. Rob Canoe told me, from Manitoba, it's a good deal. And Premier Eby from British Columbia, very happy with the deal. They were tracking the benefits to the system, because costs go down overall for healthcare when people are taking their medication properly. And so that's all valuable information that's going to make the case for pharmacare even stronger.
Are there any provinces that are not interested in signing a deal?
Well, I think there's some that are going to be more reluctant than others. We've certainly heard from Alberta. They're not. They seem reluctant to move forward. I was talking to some people in Saskatchewan who talked to Premier Moe. Same reluctance there. And that was probably the case when Medicare was built, that some were slow to come on. But if we can get a critical mass of provinces and territories on, there's going to be huge pressure from those people in those provinces to say, well, why I'm here in Calgary, why should my friends in Vancouver get the free contraception and diabetes medication and I don't while I'm here in Calgary just because of the border? So there's going to be a lot of pressure, I think, for other provinces to come on, but we've got to get that critical mass first. And I think places like Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, other places in the territories will be part of that picture.
Yeah, and look, for somebody who's living in Nova Scotia who doesn't have access or can't afford some of these things, in particular diabetes medications or whatever, it's got to be very frustrating. They just have to be like, come on, get this done, get this signed, right? I mean, I can only imagine how frustrating this must be for some.
You bet. I mean, it just really fuels it would really fuel some cynicism, I think. I can totally understand that it's the money's there. The money was budgeted. The legislation was passed. It's the same party that was there. And in fact, it was Minister Carney's health minister that he appointed in that shuffle just before the election, you may recall, Kamel Kara, who wasn't reelected, but she was his health minister, and she committed to continuing to negotiate new deals just days before the election was called. So that was very clear on people's minds. You have Prime Minister Carney constantly saying we're going to protect pharmacare, and now they're backtracking only a few months being in office.
Yeah, for sure. And I suppose with no reasoning behind it, as we've talked about already, and no timeline as to when they might reverse course, I guess, is there concern here that this might completely just go away altogether?
Well, I'm not sure. I think that the stage has been set for it. The legislation has passed. We have at least 4 provinces and territories on there now, but it's really going to be up to people and patients to continue to pressure both the federal government and our provincial governments to move forward on this. It's wildly popular. We've done polling. Every no matter which way you vote, even conservative voters, majority are in favor of a national universal pharmacare program. So it's a vote winner. We just got to make the government understand that the political costs of not following through on this are greater than whatever impact this might have on their budget.
Right. Okay, Stephen, appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Todd. Talk soon.
All right, take care. Stephen Staples, National Director of Policy and Advocacy at the Canadian Health Coalition. I saw this story in the Chronicle Herald talking about a possible transit service in the Truro Colchester area. We'll discuss this with Truro's mayor when we come back. All right, I saw this story recently in the Chronicle Herald. A consultant working on transit strategy for Truro and Colchester. Joining us to discuss all of this is the mayor of Truro, Cathy Hinton. Mayor Hinton, thanks for joining the show. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Good afternoon.
All right, so I wasn't aware of the fact that Truro is as populous as it is. This region has over about 51,000 people in it, and I wasn't aware of that, first off.
Well, Truro's the largest town in Nova Scotia, and it's a fast-growing community, and we're moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so this speaks to the moving forward and planning and investing in potentially a transit system. But obviously, like everything, cost is going to be a huge factor, right?
Absolutely. It's going to be a very expensive endeavor. And we're just waiting to get, we have a transit study that I expect to see on my desk, hopefully by September. And it'll tell us the details that we're going to have to look at that time. But it's going to be very expensive, yes.
All right, you say very expensive. Kind of put it into context, if you will. How expensive? And I know that the study will give you those details, but if you could kind of ballpark it, I guess.
I'd say many, many millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And but we're working in collaboration with the municipality of the County of Colchester, and so we're doing the study together because we have to have a partner in this to make it work for us.
Okay, so how much of a need is there?
Well, I've been on council since 2016. I think it was around 2017, 2018. We had a meeting at the fire hall with a lot of different groups, and it was really identified to me then. I'd been hearing it for years that we need a bus in the town, but especially with the university students that come in at Dal AC there. I mean, a lot of the students come in didn't realize we didn't have public transit, which poses a problem. And then as the population ages, and then, of course, for economic reasons, as well as carbon emissions and everything, there's no better time to look at this than right now, and the need is there.
Are there models of communities similar size as to yours? There must be models out there in North America or perhaps in Canada or even in the Maritimes that you could look at that have done this and made a success of it?
Well, I've been talking to Mayor Michel in Bridgewater. They have 2 buses down there, so I'm just speaking to him a little bit about that. He's been very accommodating, and he said he'd help me whatever way he could. But I think right now we're waiting to get that study back. That's the thing. Once we get that study, then we're going to move forward and see what has to be done. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for the county because we're more compact in the town of Truro, but the county is so big and they're spread out so far. It's going to be more problematic for them. But we're going to work together. Once that study comes in, we'll know where we have to go from there.
Okay, what's your total operating budget in Truro?
Well, we have our budget, and we're we're moving forward with that. But I mean, it's a lot. I don't want to say exactly because I get calls about this all the time. Exactly, how much can we afford to put into transit? And I mean, we're going to have to find the money with trying to keep the tax rate low, which we've been able to do for years now. And it's been very, it's not easy because costs are escalating on everything from development, and so we have our capital budget is about $24 million, and our operating budget is around $37 million. So it's, it's not easy it's not cheap to run a town. And I find that even now that as I am a mayor now, I appreciate that even more.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is the tax rate. How might the tax rate be? Would the tax rate inevitably have to be impacted by if transit were adopted?
Well, it probably would. And, then we're going to have a lot more meetings, community meetings, and more discussions, public discussions with that. Right now we're at 1.85 per 100. That's our tax rate here. We provide a lot of services. We have a big recreation budget. And we do a lot of great things, but it's, every year we're fighting to keep the taxes down and I've been fighting for years for that, but, services costs are expensive but people want public transit, and that's partly part of our active transportation program. That's what we're looking at, and this is part of it.
Yeah, for sure, and people want it, but not everybody wants it, obviously, because and that's unrealistic to think that you're going to have completely everybody on board. But people who have a vehicle, who are car culture, I guess, to use that term, or they might. I'm sure that you probably would get a lot of people say, "What the hell do we need that for? Give me a break."
Yeah, you will, and you're never going to get everyone on the same page. But even when we have developments now in the town, one of the things I always ask is they're going to have a car share program, because, I'm always conscientious of, as my mother used to say, you can't spend $50 when you have 20 in your pocket. The bottom line is a lot of people, seniors, sometimes they don't want to have the responsibility of maintaining a car full time, and a car share provides them the opportunity to do that. A lot of young people, they just can't afford it. Having the car, maintaining it and everything. So they are the ones that seem to really want the bus. And there are a lot of seniors that do want a bus. So, but there will be other people that, they would never use the bus, and we're going to hear from them as well. And I want to hear from everybody. I like to hear everything.
Yeah, and of course, there's nothing new there. You've got people who never step inside of a rink, but pay for a rink, or people, God bless them, don't need a hospital for years and decades.
Yep.
But
That's
guess
right.
what? At some point, you're going to need it, right? And it's needed by the society at large. And I guess that's the sales pitch here, right? Is how might this benefit the community at large? So instead of thinking individually, have a kind of a community-based mindset. That is where ideally you would approach this from, and people would look at it from.
I agree, and there's going to be, like I said, there'll be many opportunities for public input once we get that study back, and we'll move on from there. It may not be feasible, but we're hopeful that it would be, and with our collaborative partner and the town and the county working together, and we have a very positive working relationship with the county now. Mayor Blair and I, we're actually meeting later today, and we've got a very open dialogue and a positive relationship of our two councils working together. So it's never been more positive. So I'm glad for that.
So is there kind of a dollar figure that you might have in your mind where it would be a complete non-starter?
Oh, I don't even want to go there, because if I say it, then it's going to whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say it. It's going to be a very expensive endeavor, but we're going to have to look at every avenue and if we decide we're going forward, how we're going to make it work. It's for the size of Truro now. I think we're growing. We've got lots of developments happening, and people are moving into the area. And if we could get a dayliner here from for rail, it would be a game changer as well. Because we always say that work in Metro and live in Truro, and we want to keep the small town feel that we've come to love and appreciate here, and we have that, and we love that.
Mayor Hinton, good chat, and let's keep in touch about all of this.
Sounds great, and I appreciate your time.
All right, take care. Truro Mayor Cathy Hinton. And again, it's a tough sales pitch, folks, to ask people to contribute to things that they don't use. That's a tough. We see this every day here in Halifax, don't we? We talk about bike lanes every day, and at the core of that is just that. And again, like I've said many, many times, if you're living in Truro and you don't have a vehicle, and having transit would benefit you, it's pretty obvious that you're gonna support it. You're gonna put your hand up and say, yes, I'm on board with that. That's pretty evident. You Conversely, if you own your truck or your car and you never ever care about being in a bus and you don't envision ever needing it, you're going to say, why would we spend the money on that? I think it's human nature to consider ourselves and our own experience and our own needs first. But what politics is about is getting people to think outside of those parameters and to think what is for the betterment of everybody. Right? But that's heavy lifting, and that's tough. That's where real leadership comes into play. We talked a lot about leadership on the show this week, or on the show today, about leadership here in HRM or whatever. Real leadership is convincing people why they should support something, even if they don't directly benefit from it. Why they could see it benefiting the community at large and the greater good. That is real leadership, folks. When you can do that, you have succeeded, because it's easy to convince somebody to accept something that's going to benefit them directly. That's the easy part. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate it very much, and we are back tomorrow, 10 o'clock. See you then.